habeas corpus, I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if...
Why are they there? And then you see those same people picketing and screaming at the United States and screaming at, they're anti-Semitic or they're something. We don't want troublemakers here. But how do people...
Administration. So how is this going to impact Harvard? Immensely. Almost a quarter, 25% of their enrollment is international students. And Secretary Noem pointed out that Harvard is very wealthy and that they will be fine without this tuition to, as she put it, pad their endowment. So I just want to make clear that tuition dollars don't go into endowments. Tuition money is used for things like student aid, student programs, payroll, paying staff, paying faculty, and so the loss of tuition is not going to hurt Harvard's endowment. It's going to hurt their ability to take care of the students, faculty, and staff that they have. Right. So Secretary Noem, either in her letter or in a recent statement, has said, I'm not quoting directly, but that Harvard is a hotbed of dissent, of anti-Semitism, and it somehow harbors future terrorists, perhaps. And so they're using that. This is why it's coming through Homeland Security and not another agency. They're saying that the international students at Harvard are somehow a threat to the security of the United States. This has absolutely no precedent. Like I said,
obviously schools have had their SEVIS registration terminated, but it's usually for fraud or they just don't keep records. They've never done it for anything remotely like this, which basically is, we don't like the fact that you're not listening about who you should hire, so we're going to terminate it. That's what they did here. But perhaps this was not necessarily just about Harvard. This was a message to all of higher education that you have to come into line with the thinking of what this administration thinks higher education should be. We're going to see, clearly what we're going to see is a massive drop-off in foreign students coming to the United States starting in September. Well, I think a lot of the administration sees universities as a hotbed of liberals, progressives, people that are aligned against the principles of MAGA. And to them, it's a breeding ground. They see it as a breeding ground. So if you can disrupt the breeding ground, you won't have as many progressive, i.e. educated people, who oppose the administration's nationalism and nativism. But what's also going to happen is the students and the researchers that have been coming to the United States since the end of World War II are now being courted by France. They're being courted by Germany. They're being courted by Canada. They're being courted by China. Hey, why go to the United States? Those people are crazy over there. We will fund your research in France. We will fund your research in China. Come here. Again, but overall, there's 1.2 million students in the United States. I mean, there's a lot of foreign students here, many of them keeping schools afloat. Not only do foreign students bring to the campus, university, this international interaction with American citizen students that are there, but they also provide massive funding because they all pay full tuition. So tuition will go up for U.S. citizens at almost every university if we didn't have foreign students. Will 100% go up. This is
another action that the administration is trying to take against Harvard is to revoke their tax-exempt status, which, again, based on their very large endowment, would cause Harvard to then owe a tremendous amount of money in taxes, again, hampering research.
But tax-exempt status, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege, and it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard, too, by a lot more than Harvard. So we'll see how that all works out. I don't think...
Just the requests that they're making of Harvard and other universities, doing what are called viewpoint surveys on both faculty and students, trying to find out ideological beliefs, any sort of political activities. Those have not been seen in the United States for quite some time. Certainly during McCarthyism and the Red Scare, people were more inquisitive, to put it nicely, about people's political views and activities. But, McCarthy faced a tremendous amount of backlash, and for the rest of the Cold War and most of the 21st century, America has prided itself on freedom of speech, freedom of thought, right? And extensively. And in a recent report, Harvard did admit that there's been a problem with anti-Semitism on their campus, and they are looking into ways to mitigate that. Of course, nobody wants anti-Semitism. There's no place for that in the United States. Right. So they've recently, I think the number is about $2.75 billion that they have immediately taken from Harvard. Harvard, of course, is requesting that they be allowed to keep those funds. Faculty at Harvard are very concerned, talking about how the revocation of that amount of funds, what that's going to do is essentially shut down some of their labs. We've talked about how universities in America are vital for all kinds of research, but particularly scientific research that leads to medical discoveries, advances in technology. And so revoking those funds without a very clear reason or without a very clear process is incredibly harmful to Harvard. And I also just want to make it clear that while Harvard is being used as this
academic freedom! Protect! The core mission! The core mission! Protect! The vulnerable! Protect! Our core mission! Our core mission! Tell me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like!